So I have just watched the new launch trailer for MechWarrior 5 Clans, and my excitement has gone through the roof. I wasn't planning to do a video like this, but I couldn't help myself. I saw so much in that video I wanted to point out, and so that's why I'm making this now. There are of course going to be spoilers in this. If you don't want to know anything about the game, I suggest you stop watching now, because we are going to spoil quite a few things. Some of this will just be speculation, based on how we know the story transpired within the canon. What aspects of that the game is going to go into, what it might change, who can say? We'll find out in a couple of days. Without further ado, let's get straight into this thing. So we open here with a brief shot of a Timberwolf engaging another mech there. I can't quite work out what faction it belongs to. We see similar terrain later in the trailer, which makes me believe this might actually be a periphery mech, right as the clans are first approaching the inner sphere. We then cut to a brief sequence of glimpses of a broadsword dropship maneuvering its way through a clan smoke Jaguar fleet. Now the broadsword is the standard dropship for a star of clan omnimechs, a star being the smallest formation within the clan military. It's quite probable that this is our own dropship, and so our player characters are onboarded at this moment. We'll get a better look at the fleet later on, but I do want to freeze on this frame here. You can see the ship on the left hand side there, CSJ Iowa. That is an Essex class destroyer there, mid-tier warship among the clan smoke Jaguar fleet. Probably dates back centuries to the Star League Navy. Of course, it's had a lot of alterations and revisions since then, so it doesn't quite resemble how it first looked when it launched.
We are Smoke Jaguar, true-born warriors selectively bred for war over generations.
Now the voice we're hearing at this moment belongs to Kit Commander Ibrahim Ismiril. Now a Kit Commander is responsible for training new recruits for Clan Smoke Jaguar. He'll be in charge of dozens of different SIPCOs, SIPCOs being the family unit our genetically engineered player characters are born into. A SIPCO will start out with maybe a couple dozen, and then gradually they'll get weeded out until only the very best remain and become warriors for Smoke Jaguar. Now we can't see it in this frame here, but on his collar is a little rank insignia for a Star Colonel. Now that is quite a senior position within the clan military structure. Star Colonels typically command what are known as clusters. Clusters are made of 3 to 5 binaries or trinaries, which are in turn groupings of stars. So 2 stars in a binary, 3 in a trinary. As a Kit Commander, he must have retired from frontline service, but being able to retain that rank obviously proves him a very capable warrior, because it is very common for warriors to lose rank as their capabilities degrade as they get older. Now, judging by the scars and his grey hair, his best days as a warrior are probably behind him, but Ibrahim was able to win himself a blood name. Now, without getting too much into the weeds, any person within the clans that has what we would see as a surname is someone who has achieved a great deal in their career. True-born warriors are genetically engineered, but given only a single name at birth. They do carry the genetic legacy of their forebears, however, and if they prove themselves capable, they will get an opportunity to fight for the right to earn their blood name.
Our destiny to one day return from exile and reclaim Terra will not be handed to us.
Now another brief shot of a Timberwolf engaging a trio of aerospace fighters here. I believe those are Shilones, or Shilones, however you want to say it. Those will be the medium weight fighters of House Kurita, the main antagonist of MechWarrior 5 Clans.
What clan dares challenge us in our home system?
Now we'll talk more about whose voice we're hearing in a moment, but I want to freeze frame here to examine a couple of details in this part of the video. Now we start off seeing an unknown figure walking into a council chamber of sorts. We'll see who that is in better detail in a second. But in the corner of the room, you can see what looks like a pair of statues. And on the left hand side, unless I'm mistaken, I believe that is Aleksandr Kerensky, the commanding general of the Star League Defense Force, who led them out into exile. He is one of two individuals who are absolutely deified by the clans, the other one being his son Nicholas, who is probably the statue in the opposite corner of the room that we can't quite see. Now, things did not go well for the Star League in exile, ultimately resulting in Aleksandr Kerensky's death, and Nicholas led them on a second exodus, and it was he who founded the clans. But we won't talk too much about clan history at this moment, because I'm much more interested in examining this fleet here. There's a whole variety of different vessels on display, most prominently a Texas-class battleship right in the center of the frame there, one of the most powerful weapons in the clan arsenal. So around it are three different Essex-class destroyers. CSJ Iowa we saw earlier as one of those. Two of them are partially obscured by the Texas class. There's one kind of behind it and one kind of slightly to the top right of it from our perspective. There's a third one in the distance, kind of top middle. You can make them out with their distinctive kind of forks that come out of the back end of them there. I believe in the top left is another warship, but I can't quite identify it from this frame. But there are a couple others on display in the top right corner and in the kind of middle left at the edge of the planet there. Those are York-class destroyers, slightly smaller than the Essex as you can see. The top right might actually be a redesigned Vincent class, but it's tricky to tell. I think that's just a dropship that's kind of docked on the top front of it, which is kind of rounding out the front. It's quite a kind of flat ship from a different perspective you can see on the left-hand side there. That might be a third one, top left just outside the planet, but I can't really tell. There are a number of different jump ships on display as well. Jump ships are kind of the transports of the fleet. So there are a couple of monoliths, one kind of top middle to the right slightly, and one right middle in the darkness. You can see that each one of those is carrying 9 dropships, those being the smaller spheroid vessels attached to them. Under normal circumstances, they would be the largest ship you would ever see. They're the largest ship in the possession of the Great Houses. They lost all of their warships during the centuries of succession wars that followed the Star League exodus. There are a couple of smaller jump ships on the left-hand side of the frame. I believe they are just Invader and Starlord class jump ships. So all of those last 3 jump ship classes we mentioned are of Inner Sphere origin, dating back centuries. I don't believe there are any Odyssey class vessels on display here, but I could be mistaken. Anyway, that's enough time examining this fleet for now. We'll get another better look at it a bit later on. Let's keep it going for now though.
It is not clan in origin.
How is that possible?
So the voice we're hearing belongs to the man on the left-hand side of the frame here. That is Galaxy Commander Cordera Perez. Now a galaxy is an even larger formation in the clan military structure than we previously mentioned. Typically in Smoke Jaguar it's composed of 4 clusters. We've also got our player character center frame there. What they're discussing is the sudden and very unexpected appearance of an Inner Sphere vessel within the clan homeworlds. Now the location of the Exodus fleet that went on to found the Star League in exile and the clans that followed them remained a mystery for the Inner Sphere. They are hundreds of light years removed from the rest of humanity, and so for an unknown vessel to just suddenly materialize above one of their worlds sent political shockwaves through the clans. What vessel was that, you ask? Well, that was CSV Outbound Light, part of Comstar's Explorer Corps. Now, when Aleksandr Kerensky led his defense force on that exodus, a small percentage of them stayed behind and swore fealty to the last vestiges of the Star League government, that being the Department of Communications led by Jerome Blake. Over the centuries, they metamorphosized into Comstar, the organization who are responsible for the Inner Sphere's communications. Now, for the better part of a century, Comstar has been searching the deep periphery, trying to find out what happened to the Exodus fleet and locate any survivors. In 3048, they inadvertently stumble across the clan homeworlds and are immediately attacked as a hostile threat. The survivors are taken prisoner, interrogated, and it's because of this incident that Clan Smoke Jaguar decides that the time has come to return to the Inner Sphere.
Great
houses of the Inner Sphere know the secret location of our homeworld.
Now we cut back to this individual we saw from a distance before. This is Khan Leo Showers. Now each clan is commanded by 2 Khans, a senior and a junior. Leo Showers is the senior, and you see him here presenting in front of the Grand Kurultai, that is the Council of Khans. The speech he gives in this moment is one of the defining moments in not just clan history but all of human history, because he convinces the other Khans that the time has come to return to the Inner Sphere. It's a topic that they have spent the last century arguing about, but he can now point to CSV Outbound Light as definitive proof that the Inner Sphere has worked out where they are. Now that isn't exactly true. All Comstar knows is that one of their vessels vanished in deep space, and it'll be many more years before they're able to locate exactly where the clan homeworlds are. But the clans aren't prepared to wait for that. They know that they need to attack now, before the Inner Sphere has a chance to prepare. In this council meeting, the Khans come together and elect Leo Showers as the ilKhan, the Khan of Khans, the most senior individual within all clans combined. It's been almost a century, I believe, since there was last a need for an ilKhan by this point, but they decide that somebody needs to be in charge of the invasion, and they give that responsibility to Leo Showers.
Now, it is only a matter of time before they bring...
Now we get a couple of battle sequences here. The smaller aerospace fighters you see are either Shilone or Reaver class, probably the former, but I can't be sure. One of them ends up flying head-on into a group of dropships that are approaching. You can see a small broadsword down in the bottom right. That probably belongs to the player characters, or I say belongs, it's the ship that they're assigned to that will get them to the planet. The larger spherical dropships are Confederate class. They carry a full trinary on board, that being 3 stars if you remember. So what you're seeing here is a full cluster on its way to the planet, maybe even 2 clusters. So this is a large assault force. It's equivalent to about 2 Inner Sphere regiments, but of course, clan technology far superior to our own, so they have much more hitting power than that.
Before they bring their never-ending war to our doorsteps.
Next we have one of my favourite clips from the trailer. What I thought at first was an Achilles class dropship might actually be a Vengeance class here, being fired upon of course by a much larger warship alongside it. Don't let the name dropship fool you, this is the best the Inner Sphere has for warships. It's designed specifically to take on and destroy other vessels, not just to transport smaller units in battle. For the people of the Inner Sphere, if they saw an Achilles class or God forbid a Vengeance class approaching them, they know it's over. There's no escaping it. That thing outguns pretty much anything else the Inner Sphere has. The Achilles is the smaller of the two. It's bristling with guns but carries only 4 fighters on board. The Vengeance, more than twice the size, 40 fighters on board. So like I said, it spells doom for anybody else it comes up against. And yet here we see it getting absolutely obliterated by a clan warship. It's not even close in power between the two. But what is that warship firing at it? Well, it's not one of Clan Smoke Jaguars. It is instead CW Direwolf, the flagship of Clan Wolf. This is a Sovietsky Soyuz heavy cruiser, again dating way back to the Star League, but with centuries of modifications made to it. I don't want to spoil any story events I don't need to, but I'm certain this clip is from one of the climactic moments of the war. A great shot of an orbital gun here, very rare to have survived the succession wars. I'm presuming from the red mech, although there's no insignia on it, that this is belonging to House Kurita. I can't think who else could possibly own an orbital gun that wasn't one of the clans, but I guess we'll find out in due course.
It's time for us to move on.
Now we're getting our first look at another important character here. This is saKhan Sarah Weaver, the junior of the 2 Khans of Clan Smoke Jaguar. Now when Leo Showers is elected ilKhan by the Grand Kurultai, he will make way for another member of Smoke Jaguar to move up into his place. And probably what happened was saKhan took the lead position within the clan after he did so, but I'm not 100% certain on that.
What of the other clans? Are we go for engagement?
Brief shot of that council meeting here. You can see the ceremonial robes worn by Leo Showers. You can also see some flags hanging from the ceiling. At the top left there, you have the insignia of Steel Viper, one of 7 clans who participates in Operation Revival. There are 4 lead clans and 3 held in reserve. Whether Steel Viper is one of the reserve clans gets a chance to do any actual fighting, I'll leave for the game to tell you.
Now, we begin the first stage.
Now we have another great view of the fleet here. Center stage, a Black Lion class battle cruiser, probably CSJ Streaking Mist. Also something I notice, in the bottom left, a very unusual looking jump ship. I think that might be a Comitatus class jump ship, one of the clan designs, but I could be wrong on that. Top middle and bottom right might be merchant class jump ships, but they're too distant to be able to tell. The fact I can see 2 dropships on them though gives that impression. What that ship on the left hand side is with just the single dropship, I'm not entirely sure. I think it could be a scout class, but it looks like it's had a little bit of a redesign in the game. We're going to get an even better view of the fleet in a second, so let's skip forwards to that. And here we are, probably my favourite single frame from this whole trailer. There's just so much going on here for a warship nerd like me. Most of these designs we've seen already. There are a couple of new ones. To the right hand side of the Texas class battleship, that is a Lola class destroyer in the distance there. In the bottom right, we've got a Liberator class cruiser. And there's one other which is a better view of a ship we mentioned before. There's a Sovietsky Soyuz class heavy cruiser towards the center of the frame, down and to the left of the Texas class battleship. So that's the same type as the Direwolf we saw earlier. Printed on the front of it is what looks like CSJ Ixchel, but I could be wrong on that. I'm not familiar with a ship with that name, but I've no doubt there'll be a whole slew of them in this game that have never been identified before, so it doesn't surprise me.
We begin the first stage of Operation Revival by laying claim to the outer periphery. No more tricks, no more lies, no more holes for you and your rats to scurry back to.
Now here saKhan saKhan is getting extremely angry about periphery tricks. This is almost certainly the battle for Santander's world, where they go up against the Pirate King Helmar Valasek. It's the very first engagement that Smoke Jaguar gets into upon their return to the Inner Sphere, although they're still on the edges at this point in time. And the tricks and the deceit that the periphery pirates use colors the clan's perception of the kind of people who stayed behind in the Inner Sphere. From this point forwards, they view pretty much everyone they go up against as Dezgra, as disgraced individuals, and not worthy of being treated with honor. If you pause the video during that gameplay sequence, we can see a number of different objectives on screen. Some of them make reference to the killers. Those will be Santander's killers, the pirates we do battle with in the periphery. We also have to defeat the 14th, who are most likely the 14th Legion of Vega, the garrison on Turtle Bay. And lastly, we see reference to Hohiro Kurita. Now he is second in line to the Chrysanthemum throne for the Draconis Combine, after only his father Theodore Kurita. Theodore by this point is in charge of all Combine military operations, the Draconis Combine Mustard Soldiery their armed forces are called. But it's his father, Takashi Kurita, who is the actual head of the Great House.
You belong to Smoke Jaguar now.
Welcome to the 362nd.
At this point in the trailer, our player characters are being welcomed to the 322nd Assault Cluster. If that's the case, this character on the right hand side that we can tell from her pip on her collar is a Star Colonel. This must be Emilie Wimmer, the commander of that unit. Again, Galaxy Commander Cordera Perez to her left. That's the galaxy that her cluster is attached to, and the one that we'll be serving in as well.
The Silver Jaguars.
We then catch our first sighting of an Elemental, the heavily armoured battlesuits the clan use. as a kind of armoured infantry. Again, far superior technology to anything the Inner Sphere possesses. On his shoulder pauldron, you can see the insignia for Beta Galaxy, so this is going to be a part of the same unit we're in. I don't want to get too much into speculation here, but the complex they're patrolling may very well be a prison complex on Turtle Bay. I could be wrong on that, we'll find out in a couple of days.
The Silver Jaguars.
You talk back to saKhan Wimmer, like a Freebirth.
Now, a Freebirth is one of the worst expletives within the clan lexicon. Refers to those individuals who are born by natural means, not the genetically engineered super soldiers that we are going to play as. Calling a trueborn a Freebirth is a grave, grave insult.
Kill anyone who stands in your way.
Why Sarah Weaver is strangling Emilie Wimmer in this clip, I can only guess at. The 362nd, like many Smoke Jaguar units in the war, found itself struggling more than they anticipated, and their poor performance on the field earned them the enmity of those who are in charge of the war.
This cannot go unpunished.
Seconds later, we see a clip of Emilie Wimmer punching one of the members of our SIBCO, or one of the members of our star at least, that being Mia there. This, of course, standard operating procedures within the clan military. It is a ruthless place to be, and those in command tolerate absolutely no insubordination. Of course, from our perspective, that is extremely messed up, but this is just part of the warrior culture the clans exalt.
Fire everything.
Real MechWarrior should be combat ready the second they hit Outbound.
Again, we're getting another little glimpse here at one of the defining moments of the war, one of the defining moments of Clan Smoke Jaguar's history. Cordera Perez ordering the orbital bombardment of Turtle Bay. It has significant ramifications for the way the clans carry out their war, and also for him personally, but I'll leave it to the game to tell you more.
This world has been pacified. Prepare to rejoin the Armada.
Another little speech by Sarah Weaver there, given in the aftermath of the Battle of Santander's World, just before they crossed the border into the Draconis Combine to fight House Kurita.
Ready yourselves. The true invasion of the Inner Sphere begins now.
We have a couple of shots here of a large Aerodyne dropship overflying a starport, getting shot at by the player characters. This is a Gazelle class dropship, carries about an armoured company. Won't be transporting mechs, but instead about a dozen tanks or so.
One day you two will have to step up and decide what kind of future you're willing to fight for, no matter who stands in your way.
Towards the end of the trailer, we see a couple of characters who have these neon lines etched in their face. Those are enhanced imaging neural implants. Typically when a character is controlling a battle mech or omni-mech, they're using a neuro helmet to connect to the different systems of the mech so they can control a lot of its features subconsciously, keep it balanced on its feet. However, the clans have also developed a different means of doing this, using these facial tattoos that connect directly to the mech. Now these have pros and cons. On the plus side, they improve performance. You have a more intuitive control over the machine. For many clan mech warriors, that's all that really matters. On the downside, they literally drive you insane. After a few years of use, you'll start to see the first signs of kind of cognitive degeneration. Some are able to keep going and achieve greater success, but many others burn out completely to the point where they can no longer function as humans. That insanity plays a part in their behaviour, and so many of the characters you see with these enhanced imaging neural implants are some of the most unhinged in the clan forces. Getting into the final moments of the trailer now, we have one of the most intriguing shots. This character here I'm unable to identify, but on his uniform is the emblem of Wolf's Dragoons. Wolf's Dragoons were a unit that was dispatched by the clans, by Clan Wolf, to the Inner Sphere around 4 decades before this game takes place, as a scouting party to gather intelligence about the Inner Sphere, what kind of forces they have available, what level of technology they have, and how they fight. However, this unit was comprised almost exclusively of Freebirths, and they weren't particularly happy with the way they were treated within the clans, and they go rogue and start fighting for the Inner Sphere. They stop sending information back to the clans, which leads them to make a number of serious blunders as they underestimate their opponents and misunderstand Inner Sphere customs. I can only speculate as to what context the Wolf's Dragoons are going to appear in the game. Now, for reasons I won't get into, Operation Revival can be neatly divided into two halves. In that first half, Wolf's Dragoons play no part in the fighting. They remain separate from everything that's going on as they discuss amongst themselves whether they want to return to the clans or fight for the Inner Sphere. Ultimately, they decide the latter, and in what at the time becomes the largest mech battle for centuries, they and a number of other units join forces with House Kurita and go up against Clan Smoke Jaguar and their allies Clan Novacat.
What say you, Star Commander?
May Kerensky look over your glorious rise, Kid Jaden.
We could use skilled pilots in the fight ahead.
One final character introduced at the end here. There's no way of telling who she is, there's no markings or insignia we can go off, but from the colours alone there's a high probability that she's either from Wolf's Dragoons or from House Kurita. But there is one telltale sign that she is from the Inner Sphere and not from the clans. She's showing more signs of age than pretty much any other character we've seen. Clan warriors have a very short career. By the time you're in your mid-30s, you are looked down upon by the next generations of genetically engineered warriors who have come after you. If you've not won yourself a blood name by that point, it's almost certainly too late for you, and you're going to be cast aside and left to rot by the rest of the clan. Very, very few are able to achieve some sort of political success after their prime as a warrior has passed. Clan culture is fixated with progress, and they don't want to give any time to the past generations.
We could use skilled pilots in the fight ahead.
Good hunting.
What are we waiting for?
We were made for this.
And so that concludes my deep dive into the launch trailer for MechWarrior 5 Clans. I cannot wait to get my hands on this game and see what it is that Piranha Games has been cooking up. I'm almost certainly going to be uploading some videos about the game on this channel. You can stick around for those if you're interested, but I understand, of course, many of you are looking forward to experiencing it for the first time yourselves. I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, be sure to leave it a comment below. I'll try to respond to as many of you as I can. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask them. If you want to support me in making videos like this one, you can give the video a like, share it around with anyone else who you think might be interested, or even subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon for another video.